Hello, agents, and welcome to the seventh episode of the Ingress Insights podcast, hosted by myself, PkmnTrainerJ. Ingress Insights is a podcast all about Niantic game Ingress, where we cover news, rumours, leaks, and anything we can about Ingress. We also look at a feature every week as well. This week we'll be looking at two features and updates for the Q1 2024 events, an Ingress thesis that's going on, and details about what's coming up in Ingress 2024 and what people want. Just to update on this, there's been a lot of Ingress news, so parts of this are being recorded on the 29th of November and parts will be recorded on the 1st of December once some other things have happened. So if you do hear a bit of chopping and changing, then maybe why. But first of all, we'll move on to the most important bit of news for most people, which is the Q1 2024 events that have been announced. We are still finishing out the Discovery Phase 4, and we have the Phase 5 event to come as well. So I think it was a bit of a surprise to all agents when the Ingress team dropped the January to March 2024 schedule on the 28th of November. So I'm just going to read through the updates they provided there. Agents, your attention. The schedule for covert operation January, February and March is now established. Additional directives and detailed intelligence for each operation will be disseminated as you approach the execution date. Stay alert. So the first event is listed in January, but actually starts on the 6th of December, so a few days after this podcast releases, and it lasts until the 6th of January 2024. The only hint we've got towards it is it's called Operation Chronos, and it says stay prepared for new directives. There has been some media that's been found for this, which I'll share an update on later. And then the first actual event that starts in January is first Saturday. As a reminder, that's on the 6th of January, and it no longer counts towards the badge if you do a virtual event. You have to attend in person for the badge tick to go up. And you find your nearest event or one that you want to travel to on the FEV Games website. And then on the 14th of January, we have Second Sunday, and that takes place from midnight to 11:59 p.m. local time. At the moment, during this first quarter, it's still completing any 6 unique Ingress missions. Again, there can be ones you've done before, but as long as they're 6 unique ones, then that will increase your Second Sunday medal by 1 count. That's it for January, unfortunately. So we then move into February, where we've got, again, first Saturday on the 3rd of February, second Sunday on the 11th of February, and then we have an XM anomaly, which is as yet unnamed, on the 17th of February, and that's happening in Adelaide and Santiago. And that's it for February, in the middle of the month for all of these. And then in March, we've got first Saturday, again on the 2nd of March. 10th of March brings us second Sunday. And the 16th of March is, again, an XM anomaly. We don't know if it's the same one as February or a completely different one. And it's not got a name yet. But that is in Macau and Porto. There is a note to say about XM anomalies for 2024. So Niantic researchers have detected XM signals indicating anomalies on the following dates. So I've mentioned the February and March ones. There's also ones on the 18th of May 2024 in Naha and Chicago, and the 15th of June 2024 in Kuching and Budapest. There is the usual reminder about Ingress Tuesday, however you say that, I still don't know, which features double AP bonus every Tuesday from 4 p.m. to 9 p.m. until further notice. And a reminder there that I've already mentioned that beginning the 6th of January, first Saturday medal is only awarded to in-person participants. And here, second Sunday is something we expect to change for a little while. So it says that the Ingress Second Sunday events were deployed to foster reconnaissance and exploration. We are now advancing this operation by integrating diverse methods for medal acquisition. Until March, completing 6 unique missions remains effective. However, be prepared for an alternate array of challenges in subsequent Second Sundays. And again, this is something they've said for a while, but it sounds more like that may be a change during Q2 of 2024. And you can obviously apply to host a mission day with link to and in the previous episode. There's just a small note at the bottom to say, agents, your input and recommendations have been invaluable and continue to shape our strategies. Remain vigilant at all times. When engaging in XM investigation operations, adherence to local health and security protocols is imperative. So that's our whole host of events for obviously the last part of December with Operation Chronos, and for to see us all through to the end of March 2024. I think that's pretty good. Again, we're on the usual cycle of first Saturday, second Sunday anomaly event. Apart from January, we've got the previously mentioned Operation and No XM anomaly. I would like to see some other events in there myself, some of the little global ones that everyone can join in with would be great. Like we had the EOS imprint and the recharger challenge, little things like that, but it doesn't seem that's up for anything on Q1 2024 at the moment. And I'll move on now to our next section. Agents, we have had a minor update to the Ingress Prime app. So we are now on version 2.130.1. This was hinted at by Ryan on the Ingress community forums. For now, all it does is fix translation errors in new agent onboarding and in a promotion for core. As I said, we don't have any release notes for it yet, but it was stated on the forums that CMU was translated to Carnegie Mellon University instead of chaotic matter units in the Chinese translation. So it's now a bit of a quick fix for them on there to do and get that out. I don't think it matters if you're on the previous version at the moment. If you do want to update it so it displays correctly, then you head to the App Store or Play Store and make sure you do that update. The Ingress team shared an interesting update recently. So the enlightened agent V01I0 invites the Ingress community to watch him present and defend his thesis, which is called Digital Magic Circle, Physically Activating Properties of the Augmented Reality Games in the Northern Context. And this uses Ingress as subject matter. It's quite a bulky document, 104 pages when I've looked at it. I've been in contact with the agent to see if they can record this for people to watch later. And there's more information available, which I'll link to. And there'll also be a link to the stream, which will be mostly in English, but there'll be some Finnish spoken. Unfortunately, the stream goes out on the 1st of December, and this podcast will not go out until the 3rd of December. So I'm hoping that we can have that recorded to watch at a later date. If not, I'll link to the actual document so you can at least read through the thesis on there and share your thoughts on it. I didn't think I'd ever see a thesis for Ingress. Be interested to know if that's forming part of your thesis or anything as well. That's really great to hear. I'm going to move on now to our next section. The Ingress team decided to surprise us with a drop event on the 6th of December when they announced their Q1 2024 event. There was no further information on what Operation Chronos is at the time of recording. And agents speculated whether it was to do with agent ops, whether it was to do with overclock or scanning or something else entirely, and we had no idea. However, we do have a hint towards what it might be to do with. So agents have been hacking an item of media which shows a conversation which is redacted between Devra Bogdanovich and Akira Sukasa. Sorry, got that wrong. And I'll just read it out on here. This has been transcribed by Smurf Hunter for the Ingress Updates channel on Telegram, so I'll link to that on there. So we start off with Kira saying, Machina was always going to have consequences, we knew that. Devra comes back with, this anything anticipated, the XM is trying to stabilize but can't. Akira, a destabilization, what if it's an opening? Redacted. The risks are substantial. Akira, your caution is your strength, Devra. It balances me, but right now you need to think of the portals not just as conduits, but as bridges. Devra, a dimensional bridge. Much is known, or theorized, I guess, but redacted. Akira, caution is paramount, I agree, but consider the implications. We've hypothesized about XM's transdimensional properties. Redacted. Devra, trusting's one thing, Akira. You're talking about moving an entire reality into ... something new, completely unknown time and place. Akira, I see a challenge arise to it. Machina created these bridges. If we travel to them, we could discover Machina's source, and you know we need to find that if we redacted. Devra, Akira, this is insane, even for you. Akira, belief, Devra, you should try it. Believe in our knowledge. We can engage the agents for a coordinated effort. This is not just about exploration and experiencing a new reality, which is about understanding how Machina redacted. However, this would be a massive undertaking with zero prior knowledge. Akira, the agents will help us by increasing the intensity of XM, overclocking it. However, we have the opportunity to do something groundbreaking here. However, more like reality breaking. Your plans give me so much indigestion, Akira. Akira, that's just the ramen. I told you not to add so much ogarashi. And that is where the transcript ends. Apologies if I've pronounced anything incorrectly in there. You can always let me know if I did. So now that we've received this media item, agents are obviously thinking it's to do with overclock, which may be problematic for some agents who don't have overclock portals nearby. Some are theorizing it could be to do with scanning to engage overclock portals and make overclock portals appear in the area, which again is an issue for many Android users at the moment who can't stand due to updates on the Ingress app that prevent them from that. And some are disregarding it entirely. As said, we don't know anything more beyond that at the moment, but we will get an update before the event starts, and then I'll update on there on the next podcast. So we should be in the thick of it by then, by the 10th of December. I think that's everything that we know now about that. So I'm going to move on now to a thread in the Ingress community forums. If you've seen the Ingress community forums, you know that I'm relatively active there. So I've posted a thread that I'd like some further discussion on, which I'm talking to you about it here. So this is about what agents would want to see in 2024 for Ingress, what they expect and what they want. So I will cover all of these and likely release them in an episode that comes out on the 26th of December, so I don't have to do anything Christmas week, to be honest. So I am just going to read out what things I'd like for 2024 for myself. So for me, I'd like features to be finished off, basically. So Agent Ops, I know that many link a space system to Pokemon Go because another Niantic title and they have it there. And obviously a lot of Ingress agents who Pokemon Go straight away as soon as you mention it. But there are a lot of space systems in other mobile games that have been around for ages. So I play things like Jurassic World Alive and Pokemon Masters that have daily, weekly, monthly tasks things where you get points and unlock badges or titles, things like that. So it's not just a Niantic thing. And for Agent Ops, I'd really like themed monthly tasks as well. So if it's the discovery phase, some that's to do that are related to discovery somehow. It wouldn't necessarily get you a badge. It could get you a badge or a tick up on Agent Ops badge, or just some nice rewards. And obviously, with any of these task-based systems, there's either a paid option to get special tasks or to get ahead or get premium items. So that's something I'd like to see if we do get Agent Ops off the ground after all this time. And then for those that don't like to just buy a badge, it will possibly provide a series of tasks to earn it. So if you pay £5 for a series of tasks, and then at the end of that you get the Blue 2024 badge, for example, by taking on a series of missions from Blue. I'd also like to see them fix FitRep, which is the annoying little thing that pops up every Monday to tell you how far you've walked. And it does kind of counter everything I've said about Ingress not being Pokemon Go just a second ago. But for Pokemon Go and Pikmin Bloom, the other Niantic games, I get rewards based on how far I walk, whether that's group challenges for Pikmin or individual distance for Pokemon Go. And obviously, Ingress is also meant to encourage you to get out and explore. And it would be nice to get a little push with FitRep rewards, which were mentioned by Niantic Tier as coming in Q1 2022. And we haven't heard anything more about them at all. So I'd like to see those activated. And then one thing, again, the other Niantic games have that I like to see would be use of the Friends system. So recently, Niantic's been big on parties in their games. So in Monster Hunter now, I can form a party with my friends or random people nearby and battle monsters. In Pikmin Bloom, I can form a challenge with my friends or with anyone around the world, see who walks most and get the work together. Pokemon Go, I can form a party with friends and do challenges or get extra rewards and do more damage in battles. I've got a few ideas for Ingress to use a party kind of system. So obviously you can already boost up a portal with a lot of agents. If you've got 8 agents, you can get a level 8 portal pretty easily. But for me, I'm thinking more of attacking. So, for example, you go out, gather up 3 other enlightened people, form a party, and then your weapons would do extra damage to portals whilst you're in that team. Maybe you'd sync up XMP Blast to burst at the same time, do more damage, and then get rewards at the end of your party time based on number of portals claimed or resonators destroyed, whatever the party leader sets it as. Obviously, for 2024, I'd like to see the lag get sorted out as well, and a few other kind of rambling thoughts. I'd quite like to see levels above 16. Reason for recursing beyond just bragging rights in the extra kit. You've asked for it a lot, so I'd quite like to see a way to duplicate keys. I can do them by selling very, very rare kinetic capsules or only certain circumstances or certain events where you can duplicate keys for a week or something like that. And then similarly, months with events beyond the usual. Here is first Saturday, here is second Sunday, here is an anomaly. This is so much more they could do. As I mentioned, I'll link to this in the show notes and I will read out all the responses that come up on there, as long as they're appropriate for the Boxing Day podcast episode. So if you'd like to get stuff read out on the show, so you can go and do it. Even if there's weird words you just want to hear me say in my British voice, like aluminium, then you can add that on there and hear that again. Okay, so now I'm going to move on now to our next part of the podcast. Agents, it's that time of the year. I'm not talking about Christmas time or holiday time. I'm talking about the time when all the worst music choices you've made over the year come back to haunt you in the form of Spotify Wrapped. So, because I have the cast now, I get some stats for Spotify Wrapped for podcasters. So I just want to update on that. And the podcast has been the top podcast, like the number one podcast for 4 listeners. So I appreciate that. It's in the top 5 podcasts for 6 of the listeners, and the top 10 podcasts for 6 of the listeners. I've no idea if those 6 in the top 10 or top 5 are any different. So the first time I've done it on there. And I've got most listeners at the moment from the United States. So again, I do appreciate all of you listening to me ramble about Ingress for about 20 minutes. This episode may be a bit long because there's quite a bit that's happened. But I do appreciate you all listening and doing the polls and Q&As and everything on there. Please do keep listening, and if you have the time, give us a nice rating on either iTunes or Spotify or whichever podcast service you listen to, if it does allow you to leave a rating on there. So I move on now just to remind you about Discovery Phase 4. As a reminder, agents, the Phase 4 Discovery Reclaimer Challenge is still going on until the 15th of December, 11:59 p.m. UTC, and agents who claim more than 100 Machina portals as part of this challenge will give a boost towards their faction to earn a 1.331 multiplier for Phase 5. And the Ingress team put out a update, like a midpoint update, on the 30th of November to say that Enlightened have 48.2% and Resistance have 51.8% as of 30th of November, 6 a.m. UTC. So obviously it was quite close last time, both during the live phase and during the kinetic capsule phase. So if you do want to speak to your fellow agents, get them out there, get them reclaiming the Machina portals to allow for a boost for final phase of Discovery season on the 16th of December, then please do that. We will get a further update from the Ingress team after the Phase 4 and Phase 5 of the Discovery Anomaly are over, and I'll share that on that. And then next, I'm going to move on to an update on the Ingress Chronos event that I mentioned just a few moments ago. We've now had further details on and maybe a hint towards what it is. Jumping back to the Ingress Chronos event, shortly after I recorded myself reading out the transcript, there was an update on the Ingress news blog. It says Devra and Akira the Chronos file, which was released on the 30th of November. It says agents, an intercepted transcript has revealed the involvement of 2 renowned scientists, Akira Tsubasa and Devra Bogdanovich, in a new and potentially dangerous experiment, one that builds upon these 2 researchers' experimental attack on Machina earlier in the year. Despite differences in opinion on their next steps, it seems clear that what they are preparing for could have far-reaching consequences that could have effects beyond the Discovery XM anomaly series. Remain alert to further intelligence on their plans and be prepared to take appropriate action as necessary. To assist in this investigation, 2 files have been retrieved from deep storage within the Niantic archives. So there is a limited time loadout kit with the Akira 2017 medal, and a limited time loadout kit with the Devra Bogdanovich 2017 medal, both 30,800 CMU. In the Devra one, you get obviously the Devra 2017 badge. You get 1 ITO EN+, 3 very rare heat sinks, 10 rare portal shields, and 20 level 8 resonators. For Akirus, you get obviously Akirus badge from 2017, 1 ITO EN-, 3 very rare heat sinks, 10 hypercubes, and 20 level 8 XMP masters. So for me, neither of them sound great. I already have one of those, I believe, Devra from a previous kit, so I probably won't be getting it. It's not clear how long these badges are available for at the moment, and agents are still waiting for more details on what exactly we were doing during Operation Chronos. As soon as we hear any more, we'll update on here as well. So I'm going to move on to the next part now. This Saturday, just on the 2nd of December, was the last time you had to earn a tick towards the first Saturday badge if you're doing a virtual event. Future virtual events won't count towards the badge, but can still be organised. But to then earn a point towards the badge, you have to attend in-person events going forward. And we've discussed that a couple of times on the podcast. However, differing this month, the Ingress team have been providing some free gifts via the store in the run-up to first Saturday. So they've been providing some heat sinks, some Apex, and some hypercubes. I've quite like getting the free Apexes myself because that's the equivalent of about £4 in CMU for getting that for free. I don't know whether they'll continue doing this, but it's been much appreciated and I always enjoy getting free items. And as well, the Ingress team have sent out their annual survey for users via email. Hopefully you've received it and answered it. It is quite a bulky survey. It says it takes about 15 minutes, but honestly it depends how much you write and how much time you need to think about things. It will ask questions about what real life events you've attended and how often you think Ingress should run global in-game events and how much you like seasonal medals, festive medals, bundles in the store, things like that. So if you haven't filled it out yet, and if it's still open by the time you're listening to this podcast, I encourage you to go and fill it out and let the Ingress team hear what you want to hear. I've put across most of the stuff that I wrote in the Ingress in 2024 thread that I mentioned. I think others have done the same. And I'm going to move on to talk about a fan event that's now ending with the Ingress Worldwide Competition. As we're now at the 2nd of December as I'm recording these sections, the Ingress Worldwide Competition, the unofficial competition, which you can do via Telegram and see who's the best in a variety of agent stats, has now concluded. So you can check the Telegram group to see where you placed and look on the agent stats group to see how well you did overall. There's still discussions going on in this group, even though the competition's ended, such people looking at doing banners with the logo in and various extra activities throughout the festive period, even though it, as mentioned, come to an end. I did alright in most stats, I think, the ones I care about, but I was just doing it myself for a bit of fun and seeing all the troll kind of codes that got supplied with thousands of resonators, thousands of bursters, and even some Ingress troll face media, which I know some people are keen to duplicate when option comes back. So, as I said, we're now into December, so I am moving on to some festive calendars and events that are organised by the community. So cover those. The first community event we have for the festive season going on is the unofficial Ingress Advent Calendar 2023 by Event. So for this, you can sign up using your Telegram account information and choose each day in the run-up to Christmas Day a few tasks to complete. So just earn some points. It's just a fun contest. There's no massive competition official things for it. You can choose either mission A, mission B, or mission I, which will be an indoor mission, as these have been implemented since COVID and lockdown and things like that. So you can choose whichever one you want to do on there and just give yourself kind of aim and tasks to do for the day. And then we also have, as I mentioned previously, the Japanese Ingress Communities calendar. So they have an Ingress and Wayfarer calendar available where agents will write up about their thoughts and feelings on these. It may be totally Ingress related, maybe totally Wayfarer related, it may be a mix of both. But there's been 3 items written up so far across the 2 calendars. I will link to them all, but obviously you will need to use a translation service such as Google Translate or DeepL if you don't speak Japanese, read Japanese. So Agent Ray 0000 has written about the echo anomaly being held in Ueda City, the preparation involved and what it meant to them. Agent Nako looks back on Google Plus and the early days of Ingress and how it's changed and evolved. And Agent Sasaken has written up about bees and XM, as they're a beekeeper themselves, and they're looking to make the world's first gaming honey. So they're all quite interesting from what I've read so far. I don't want to go through the whole massive list and kind of back from what they've taken time to write up. I will link to each post on there. And then talking about Wayfarer a bit, I'm going to move on now to some Ingress adjacent news with Wayfarer as well. In a previous podcast, I mentioned that there was a Wayfarer AMA going on. So some agents might still call this OPR, but it's spun off into its own thing being Wayfarer, where you can submit new portals, review edits, locations, things like that. The responses to the questions were meant to be posted on the 1st of December, which is yesterday now for me. However, Niantic Tintino said on the 1st of December, he said, "Thank you all for your participation in the November 2023 AMA, which will now be turning into December 2023 AMA. Unfortunately, there were some unforeseen circumstances that have limited our ability to post our responses in time. Please rest assured we're working on the responses when we post them next week. In addition to posting them in English, we're also starting to test posting them in our supported languages in an effort to reach a broader global community. We will test this initiative starting with Japanese. Thank you for your continued support and patience as we work on getting you our AMA responses." So just a reminder for those that have seen previous AMA responses, it won't be a case of question 1, response 1. The team have mentioned they're going to form themes around what questions have been asked to prevent duplicate questions being answered. So they're presumably still taking some time to work through and get those themes together on questions that have been asked. And then just a small update as well on Wayfarer whilst we're on this topic. So lots of agents and Wayfarers were seeing Niantic's new AI system automatically rejecting their nominations. So if this happens, rather than receiving an email that says the community has decided, your email will say something around our team found that this. So it was fed back through the Wayfarer ambassadors that the AI seemed a touch aggressive when reviewing nominations over a certain time period. The ones that have been rejected due to this are now going into Niantic review. So you may have a nomination that's been rejected by the AI, which is now in Niantic voting to make sure it gets the correct decision. So don't panic if you see that on your screen. This update comes to us via the UK cross-platform Wayfarer channel. I'll link to there in the description. So that's a handy place to get all your Wayfarer-related updates as well. Move on now to our next section, looking back at year 4 and looking at new features. There's not enough in this episode already. This is the part of the podcast where we go back and look at previous year celebrations. We've covered year 1, 2, and 3 so far. So now we move into Ingress year 4. For this, there is a little more information than previous years, which is great for me. So on the 15th of November, the Ingress team posted "Happy birthday, Ingress. To commemorate our 4-year anniversary, everyone that reaches level 3 by 11:59 p.m. PST on Wednesday the 30th November 2016 will earn a special Luminary Medal. The Luminary Medal will be awarded based on the following tiers. So Bronze, level 3 to 8, Silver, level 9 to 12, Gold, level 13 and 14, Platinum, level 15, and Onyx, level 16. For the next 2 weeks, additionally, each portal action will generate double AP. So, for example, capturing a portal to earn 1000 AP, or establishing a field to earn 2500 AP. Output of the portal network has also been boosted. During these 4 years, we've seen so many incredible moments, anomalous field arc, pick operations, ingress winnings, and much, much more. If you have a favourite situation report from your experience over the last 4 years, we'd like to hear it. I encourage you to share your sit reps with them using the Ingress Year 4 hashtag. The team also shared a video showing gameplay in the real world, as they often like to say, showing people with founder medals and getting 20 million downloads in those first 4 years, and showing a variety of badges and agents playing, just to show what the actual game is to those who may not know. The Luminary medal seems quite nice to me. I don't have it myself, unfortunately, because I wasn't playing during year 4. I've seen it on a few profiles as well. And then I think that's really about it for year 4. As a preview, an interesting thing I've seen for the Sage medal for year 5 is that this was designed by submitting ideas for the Sage medal. So I'd love to know who actually won that, because unfortunately the things on there are, as before, on Google Plus and not around anymore. So if you were the one who designed that Sage medal or know more about it and want to tell me before I record the next podcast, that'd be great. And then I'll just move on now to discuss 2 features, simply because we don't know which one's going to be relevant. So I'll move on to that now. The first feature I'm going to talk about in our feature covering section is overclock. So this was introduced to the game on the 1st of June, and you can see on some portals there'll be a hedron that's white above these, and there'll be a small overclock button that looks like a hypercube within a spider web to me. But when you approach one of these portals and get within 20 meters, you can activate overclock. And what this does is uses your phone's camera to calibrate your position and confirm you're at that portal and everything is fine. Once that's been confirmed, you can then place the tesseract, which looks like a little cube, and on there you'll see various glyphs that you have to copy. So you place that in the real world, follow those glyphs. You may have to wander around it to see if that's correct, and get those as close as you can. They do note this is using 4D shaper glyphs that you can then yield the equivalent of 4 glyph hacks and AP and items from this one AR pack. And to get a portal activated for overclock, you need to submit scans. So if you don't have any overclock portals near you, you would need to submit at least 10 good rated scans through the system. And then you can either wait for Niantic to activate those from time to time, so choose to activate things, or you can ask someone you know with access to the Wayfarer app, such as a Lightship developer or Wayfarer ambassador, if you know any of them, to activate it on their side. Once it's activated, then at the usual sync time for portals in your area going live, it will be activated and you can start doing your overclock hack. We recently got a new stat added for overclock point last month. So agents do suspect something is coming up that will require overclock, but we also run into the issue that many agents can't do scans on certain Android devices. So if you are a bit stuck and don't have any overclock portals that you can get to, I'm not sure how well an overclock event will go for you, unfortunately. But as said, with everything that's been said about Operation Chronos, it's suspected to be to do with overclock. However, some agents think it may be to do with agent ops. So I'm going to move in and talk about that as well, because I've mentioned that a few times in passing on the podcast too. on now to another possibility for Operation Chronos. As I said, at the moment we still don't know what that is, even though it's happening in 4 days' time. So agents did discuss that it may be finally the return of Agent Ops. So Agent Ops was initially run on the 18th of March 2023 as part of the MZ anomaly. What this was, for those who've played similar mobile games, was assigning some tasks to complete that day. So agents had to, for example, complete 60 hacks, deploy 60 resonators, and take other actions during that time. And the MZ anomaly medal. Some agents didn't because they didn't think it was a for anomaly. There were some issues with some agents being able to earn that badge as well. And it's believed that going forward at some point, Second Sunday will be using Agent Ops and the task-based system instead of doing 6 missions, because they've always talked about mixing up a bit. And agents thought that maybe after almost a year of no further Agent Ops, it may be time for the task-based system to go. The task-based system is quite popular in other games, such as Pokemon Go, Monster Hunter Now. They have their daily quests or monthly quests to get through and test lines. There's been discussion about whether there would be paid agent ops in future in Ingress groups that I'm in. So, for example, paying £5 and then getting a special set of missions that earns you a special medal. Personally, I think that would help those who don't want to buy a medal outright. If they could buy a set of tasks to complete and then earn the medal that way. But some people aren't going to like a task-based system anyway, because it will make them think of Pokemon Go's task-based system, even though it's in, as I mentioned, a lot of other games that I play as well. And then just before we move on to wrap things up, I'm just going to briefly mention some personal games that I'm playing as well, so I may use those in future ideas too. I do try and keep any non-Ingress stuff down to a minimum and mention when it's Ingress adjacent, like Wayfarer, when it's relevant for Ingress as well. So just adding a small note here that I've started playing a closed beta for an AR outside kind of game called Kingdom Hearts Missing Link. So if I think of any ideas that I think might be good to use in Ingress, then I may mention that they're coming from the game. I just want to mention it was something I was doing in case it seemed like I was coming up with some ideas out of the blue on there, and I don't want to seem like I'm stealing from that game and wanted to mention it beforehand. So now I'm going to move on to get things all right for you. Thanks so much for listening to the 7th episode of the Ingress Insights podcast. If you'd like to connect with us, you can do that by following us on either Instagram or Threads over at ingress.insights. You can also email us on ingressinsights@gmail.com. We do also now have up an episode on YouTube. The first episode is up on there, and future ones will come in due time. If you'd like to help us out with the show, the best way to do that is by rating us on the podcast service of your choice, if you're allowed to do that. And then next week we'll be looking at the Ingress Chronos event, so we'll be in the midst of that. See what other Ingress news has happened, and also catch up on the various community calendars and the posts from there. Hope to see you next time, agents.